Morning, lamb chops. All right, we are gonna get right into it. Okay. Wonder how this is gonna end. Bro, same. Oh, hi. Yeah. Okay. I know I was about to post next week's schedule, but I was like, ooh, what if this really isn't the end? Like, Rusu had me worrying last night. Or, like, what if this is so long we have to do it in multiple parts? Okay, continue. We got this, though. I guess I'd be lying if I said I didn't get any sleep. I tried to stay awake all night, but there were definitely gaps in my memory. I guess I keep nodding off and jerking awake in panic all night. Chapter 12 turns into an 8-parter, bruh. No! I spent all night hugging the metal bat and sat on top of the futon I used to barricade the door. Waiting, watching, just in case someone tried to break in through the window. If I left this spot, someone would break in through the door, sending the futon flying and attack me. But if I stopped watching the window, someone would break through the glass and attack me. I tried telling myself I was just being paranoid, but I couldn't sleep. The thought of being so vulnerable scared the living daylights out of me. If I sleep meant taking that risk, I didn't need it. It was so much better to just stay awake. Oh my god, think how long he's like been awake then or something. Like, bro's gonna go insane all by himself. At some point, during that endless cycle of nodding off and jolting awake, light began to shine outside, but that was that. It wasn't so much the morning as it was just simply having risen. I snuck a peek through the curtains. Raina was gone. I couldn't see her anywhere, no matter how hard I looked. Finally, I could breathe a deep sigh of relief. The night was finally over. Clearly the best mental state for what's going on right now. Exactly. 16 plus hours. Oof. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tired, but I didn't feel like sleeping at the moment. I still had time. But I needed to make my own breakfast, so I'd better get started. Skipping school was also an option. With my mom gone, it'd be easy to play hooky. Honestly, I debated it. The risk involved in leaving the house was incalculable. Staying holed up here was probably the safest option, but staying here wouldn't solve anything. Oishi-san wouldn't help me without a cold, hard evidence. Neither he nor my parents. So unless I found some sort of proof, these relentless nights would never end. I stretched my body, tilted my head back, and closed my eyes just like I did every morning. I regulated my breathing and regained my senses. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Let's go to school. Let's wait until they set the trap for me. But that didn't mean I was going to just twiddle my thumbs. I needed to avoid that trap and secure irrefutable evidence. Take note of the plates on the car that drove by. If someone sees the suspicious, check their clothes and face. I wasn't just protecting myself. I was preparing myself to turn their attack against them and retaliate. The tension was similar to when two samurai were both aiming to slay each other with a single motion as they drew their katanas. I was not at a disadvantage. I would have a chance to retaliate. I finally felt a bit of courage growing in my chest. All right, let's go to school. I tightened my grip on Satoshi's bat. He was the only partner I could count on. Satoshi, please lend me your strength. And I entrust your dying regrets to me, since you were probably murdered. I'll make sure I dispel them. With renewed resolve, I checked the clock. It was still early. Of course I was going to go to school by myself. If I didn't want to run into Reina or Mion, I needed to leave now. I'm not at a disadvantage. Bro has gotten 2 hours of sleep and a bat. True, let's not forget that the whole village is probably now after him. One guy and a bat. Who would win? One village of crazy people paranoid and or possessed? Or one sleepy boy in a baseball bat? The shattered fragments of the cupboard were still strewn across the entryway. Right. I meant to clean that up last night, but I never got around to it with the phone call and everything. If my parents came back and saw this while I was at school, I'd never hear the end of it. Yeah, it worked out pretty well in Fooly Cooly. One eepy boy. It's true, though. I guess it did work out in Fooly Cooly, huh? Oh, boy. Still, I'd be wasting my time if I cleaned it up right now. And considering what would happen if I ran into Reina or Mion, it wouldn't be too late to clean it up after I got back from home. Psh. Making extra certain that the doors were locked if I did leave. My uniform was still covered in mud from yesterday, so I left it in the washer. Today, I was going to go to school in a tracksuit. By wearing a different outfit this morning, my mind was forced to accept that the day was different from yesterday. I had a hunch. Tonight be the day I get killed. Keep your guard up, Keiichi Maibara. The only one who gets to decide if today is my last is me. I spent the morning practicing my swing like it was my natural routine. After a while, Reina arrived at school. Our eyes met, but we said nothing. Reina said nothing about last night, as if it never happened. But I could see that those events were real by the wounds carved into her fingers. I feel like Reina also has a save. It's his last day. And they put it to a vote. I just heard her telling Satoko and the others that my bandages were for hurting herself in the kitchen. Though it wasn't like it bothered me. The details that Oshi-san shared about Reina's incident before her transfer played vividly in my mind. Now that I knew about it, I couldn't even dream Reina was a cute, ideal girl. I bet Mion has a say. It takes a third to decide. I bet Mion has a say too. Keiichi sus. Oh, goodness. Kei-chan, I see you're still aiming for the nationals. It was Mion. I had already sensed her approach, so I wasn't that surprised. Oh, Mion. If you understand, then leave me alone. I'm busy practicing. I gave her a curt reply without my usual jokes. Then I gave a bad, even large swing, tactically keeping Mion from getting any closer. Hey, Kei-chan, take it easy. I think Mion got the message, but she still urged me to give it a rest. Homeroom's not that far off, is it? Just let me finish practicing. I swung the bat even harder as a sign of refusal. Kei-chan, when did you get into baseball? Just recently. Recently? You mean yesterday? Don't ask if you already know. Oh dear. That's a very unsportsmanlike reply. You're distracting me. Go away. I ignored Mion and kept swinging. Normally she'd get mad or bored and leave if someone gave her a cold shoulder like this. Mion just stood there, waiting patiently for me to stop swinging. I didn't sense any hostility, but we were at school in plain view. I doubt she'd suddenly attack me here. Or was that too naive? Still, I was starting to get tired. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad if I take a break and hear her out. You need me for something, right? What is it? Sweat poured from me as I stopped swinging. I noticed my shoulders were heaving as I breathed. I cursed my lack of exercise. At this rate, I might not be able to move as needed when the time came. I should probably keep practicing my swings to build stamina, in addition to the excuse for carrying the bat around with me. Well, it's nothing important. If you're tired, I can ask again later. Now is fine. I'm only dealing with you right now because I judge the situation to be safe. Talking to you alone for away from others? That's out of the question. Well, Mion was uncharacteristically trying to choose her words. But unlike Oshi-san, it didn't look like she was going to talk about something I'd rather not hear. Mion was puzzled, trying to find the right thing to say. But then she gave a hearty laugh to break herself from out of that mire. This old man's just no good at this stuff. Having a poor vocabulary hurts. What is this all of a sudden? If you have something to say, just say it. Stop it. Stop that swinging. She's cut straight to the point. Her request was frank. I didn't understand it for a moment. I had already stopped swinging to listen to her, hadn't I? I just stopped, didn't I? That's not what I meant. I want today to be the last day you swing that bat. I'm sorry. It took me some time to understand what she was asking for. But what's wrong with swinging a bat? Why? It's none of your business, is it? I'm not bothering anyone, am I? You are. Yon said that flat out. That didn't make any sense, and that was really irritating. When did I bother anybody? Myeon was at a loss for words, but she finally made up her mind and spoke, though she stuttered a bit as she did it. Because, Kei-chan, that someone else's bat. You shouldn't borrow it without permission. It was behind by a student who transferred, right? I'm just borrowing it until they come back for it. Huh? Yeah. He transferred. Myeon grew uncharacteristically flustered. That made it all too clear that this transfer was a lie. But strange, isn't it? For the older brother to transfer by himself, while his little sister stayed behind? Myeon couldn't hide her reaction as my words shook her up. Kei-chan, you knew? Satoshi Hojo. Satoko's older brother, right? The one demoned away last year? Unable to respond to that, Myeon fell silent. Reina asked me the same thing. Why did you start swinging that bat? She told me Satoshi did the same thing, practicing his swings, right before he went missing. So, is this some kind of omen for Yashiro-sama's curse? Shh! Myeon panicked and looked around. Please, Kei-chan, don't mention Yashiro-sama so recklessly. I don't believe in him, but others very much do. Reina especially. Dangerously so. Anyway, you're scaring everyone. If you're just fooling around, then stop it. You have to stop acting like Satoshi. I was the one who was scared. Who do you have to thank for taking up this bat in the first place? But it still unsettled me knowing that my actions were overlapping with Satoshi's. It would be one thing if someone suggested it, but I thought I was making my own decisions. And I'll say it now. I don't think anything about Satoshi. After all, you didn't tell me anything about him. But we didn't mean to hide it. You were hiding the incidents that happen every year, didn't you? And that's because you didn't want to, you didn't want to scare me? That's your reason for leaving me out? No, we didn't mean to. Myeon, I asked you directly if something happened at the dam, didn't I? And you told me nothing happened. When someone was dismembered and murdered, you lied to me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lie to you. Friends don't hide things from each other, right? Isn't that right? Then you all aren't my friends. Kei-chan, Myeon looked helpless and flustered. Was I imagining tears in her eyes? I never could have imagined Myeon acting like this. Oh, by the way, those get well mochi you brought the other day, they were good. I thought I was gonna bleed. Who did it? You? Or Reina? Me. She admitted it so easily. I couldn't help but be surprised at how easy it was. You could have killed me. How could you do that to a friend? But it was just a little prank. Just a prank, bro. It's just a prank, bro. Myeon also knows everything and just fell in line, yeah. Myeon gave me a weary smile, mixed with confusion, causing even more anger to well up inside me. Do you think that was a prank? I grabbed Myeon by the collar and lifted her up. That wasn't the same as putting Tabasco sauce on a piece of mochi. It was a needle, a sewing needle. If I had swallowed that, it could have lodged in my throat. What did she think would happen? It's just a prank. Calm down, bro, just a prank. Myeon's face froze as her body rattled in fear. This wasn't Myeon Sonozaki that I knew anymore. was a casual attempt at someone's life, just between friends. Bro, I'm dead. Just a break, bro. Oh, yeah. Anyways, you're not my friend. There's no reason for me to listen to someone who's not a friend. So just leave me alone for a while. Got it? Mion wasn't replying anymore. It wouldn't be that easy to erase me, you know. The cops have been on you from the start. So don't think you can make me disappear like you did with Satoshi. And I said it clearly. This was my declaration of war. I think the guys who suspects the previous incidents too. I also know you spent a lot of time with the cops ever since that anti-dam movement. Don't think you can hide it from me, you got that? How? How did you know? Mion stood with a dumbstruck look on her face. That was when I heard the principal ringing the bell for school. It was time for morning homeroom. Let's go. The class representative needs to be there, right? At that moment, for the first time, I realized Mion was sobbing as tears ran down her cheeks. You're so mean, Kei-chan. I wanted to console her, but I shut my mouth. I had no need to feel guilty. I'm going. Don't be late for homeroom. I left Mion still shaking as I turned around to head into the entrance. I had no idea how troubling it was to make a girl cry. Behind my back, I could hear her muttering. It was a faint mutter as she was speaking to herself. You want the battle? Here's the war. Yeah. That's how it is. Huh? She wasn't saying it to anyone. It was Mion talking to herself. But it was a sobbing voice, that kind of giddy, cursing tone. I inadvertently stopped and turned back toward her. So it was that bastard. He leaked it all to Kei-chan. She balled up her fists and her tears continued to rain down. She glared at the spot at the ground with a terrifying yet smiling face, cursing. A chill ran down my spine from that demonic expression. This transformation, Mion's transformation, was different from Reina's. I should have killed him back then. He forgot the mercy I showed him just because he was going to retire this year. Retiring this year? Is she talking about Oishi-san? Damn it! Damn it! I'm gonna kill that damn old man. I felt like the air itself had begun distorting. With Mion at the center, the world had begun to twist and spiral, bending, whirling. This was the first time I'd experienced such a visage. Rise? Attention! Mion made up an excuse for her red eyes by saying there was something wrong with her contacts. After that, neither Reina or Mion spoke to me for the rest of the day. Neither Satoko nor Rika-chan looked at me in the eye. Strangely, I didn't feel hurt. Everything had just went back to the way it was. The months since I transferred in had almost been too much fun. That was all. School was supposed to be something like this to begin with. I should have disliked that feeling, but today it felt oddly refreshing. The bell rung, sounding the end of the monstrous school day, which had felt so tense yet so dull. Since it would cause a lot of unpleasant memories if they asked me to join club activities, I promptly started preparing to go home without even looking at them. I stuffed contents into my bag, wrapped my hand around Satoshi's now familiar bat, and began heading towards the entrance. I was assailed by both exhausting relief and nothing had happened of the day, but the tiring possibility of the same thing repeating tomorrow. But deep down inside me, far beneath in the recesses of my heart, achingly I know, this would be the last day of this cycle. I couldn't tell how the ending would be, whether it would be the end I wished for it to end, or if the end I would hoped it wouldn't. Regardless of my current state, there was something more important than how things would end. There was something I wanted to know. Why did I have to be killed? How did it come to this? Why? For what purpose? The sunlight was relentless. The sun, the heat, even the air. They wouldn't give me any answers. Or could it be? The cries of the Higurashi were desperately trying to tell me something. Somewhere, mixed in their shrieks, Tomotaki-san and Satoshi were probably trying to tell me something. I simply haven't been able to realize it yet. When I do realize it, I wonder if I'll be amongst the Higurashi, furiously crying to the next victim. Glancing down at my feet, I saw Higurashi on its back, spamming weakly. Blee, blee, blee. There was still so much summer left, yet this one was already chirping its last song. Couldn't tell what it was saying, no matter how hard I listened. But I had to try. I had to try to listen. It was desperately trying to tell me. At that moment, the shrills of the Higurashi ceased all at once. As if they had huddled together, fearing that the person who brought them their dreadful fate had arrived. There was no mistaking it. A presence was approaching. The sound of footsteps was almost non-existent. If the Higurashi hadn't warned me by their ending their chirping, I wouldn't have noticed. My exhaustion left me in a heartbeat, and in its place was a rush of adrenaline that sharpened all my senses. I was just barely able to hold back the creeping, suffocating feeling of horror. It wasn't something I could hold back for long, but in this moment I needed to be razor sharp. I was able to retain my composure. I wasn't going to shout like I did yesterday. I hid myself calmly amongst the trees, waiting for my pursuer's shadow. Could I get them to pass me by? No. Since I was able to hear their footsteps, they were also able to hear mine, probably. They might have already been able to tell that I had hidden myself and holding my breath. The person tailing me, was it Reina? Just like yesterday? If it was Reina, I wouldn't hold back. I could just yell at her and make her go ahead like yesterday. If it wasn't Reina? It depended on how they acted, I guess. The footsteps ambled closer. I swallowed, wiping my clammy hands on my pants, and readjusted the grip on the bat. I could tell that the fear that I had beaten back once was now waiting for another opening to come at me. Who could it be? I peeked out from behind the tree at the person following me. My imagination hadn't led me astray. It was Reina. There was a bit of relief as it was someone I knew, but that feeling left me in an instant. This wasn't the same Reina I knew. Her eyes were dark and lifeless, but her mouth appeared as if it were carved into a crescent. Yeah, it looked like she was grinning slightly. And in her right hand was an axe. I hid myself behind the tree once again and recalled that unbelievable sight I just saw. What was that just now? The embodiment of terror laid bare? Baseball bat. Practicing my swing. There were tons of excuses for me carrying the bat. But for an axe? There was no excuse. An axe just like that? Keiichi-kun, are you playing hide and seek? I wonder. My heart was pounding, hard enough that I was having trouble breathing. What little composure I had been able to hold on was just now crushed, and in its place cold sweat gushed forth, covering my entire body, letting me know precisely what kind of emotion had taken hold. Not good, not good, not good. I wasn't able to hide myself completely. She already knew I was here. Were you trying to scare me, I wonder? I decided that it would be better to reveal myself now, since there was still space between us, and that would allow Reina to come any closer. I adjusted my grip on the bat, readied myself mentally, and stepping out from behind the tree. I found you, Keiichi-kun. Reina was pleased that she had found me, eliciting a mysterious giggle. Her mouth was smiling, but her eyes told me she was displeased by the fact I had been hiding. Those eyes, they were so empty. My legs began to quiver. Not good. In the pit of my stomach, some sort of vicious, hot, and cold substance began pouring out. I allowed it. That substance would slip into my bloodstream and undoubtedly freeze all my organs in my body. Not good, not good. I'll be devoured by Reina at this rate. Strike back. Don't lose. Oh god. Keiji has more chances to beat Reina in 1v1. If we believe she doesn't have superpowers. It's true. It's true. What is it? I blustered, hiding behind my bravado. But Reina didn't flinch one bit. Just the same as Keiichi-kun. I'm heading home. Then what about the axe? Then what about that bat you're holding? I'm practicing my swing. And I'm treasure hunting. Reina gave a flippant explanation as to why she had such a fearsome weapon. Treasure hunting? At the treasure mountain near the dam site, I found a new cute thing, so I needed this to dig it out. How could I believe that? You wouldn't believe it, would you? Reina's laugh was obviously very strange. I'd seen Reina's transformation many times before, but the one today was completely different. You gotta go, Sag? Oh no. Well, bye, Rusu. Thanks for coming in and hanging out for a bit. Like her mischievous tone and her shrewd glint in her eyes. It wasn't something that was roundabout. I'm not sure what to say. It was just so obvious. Wait, Keiichi-kun. Reina didn't stop walking, even though she let out that eerie laugh. Whenever Reina got too close, I would scurry away and turn back towards her. This cycle repeated over and over. No matter how you looked at it, I was being chased by Reina and trying to escape. Reina's never heard of a shovel before. I mean, to be fair, in an earlier chapter, we definitely did tell her to go get an axe so we could, like, hack away at some of the debris that was on top of something. I'm guessing that's what she means by, like, she's treasure hunting again. Don't follow me. I can't do that. My house is this way after all. When I met with Reina on the road yesterday, she cowered and trembled as she followed my commands. But today was different. Reina didn't show a hint of trepidation. Actually, wasn't I the one who was cowering? If the way home for Reina and me was the same, that's fine. I'll just change my route. Treasure hunting relaxations to dig something out. Yeah, like, in the earlier one, there was, like, a bunch of, like, wooden beams covering something, so, like, we used an axe to, like, dig it out. I mean, still freaking creepy. I see your face. I know we're about to die. I turned onto a side street I'd never been down and knew little about. But Reina saw me do that and followed me while laughing. Why? Why? Aren't you going home? Then just go home down the street like you normally do. Why would you follow me down this weird side road? Those thoughts screamed in my head, eventually spilling out of my mouth. Well, why are you following me? The tone of my voice was already tinged with terror. Because I want to talk to Keiichi-kun. Keiichi-kun wants to talk to Reina too, doesn't he? Doesn't he? I don't want to talk about anything with you. That's a lie, isn't it? There's something you want to ask me about, isn't there? Not at all. I have nothing to talk about. That's a lie, isn't it? It's not a lie. Liar! Reina screamed, echoed, startling the nearby birds into flight. I cringed in fear. The only other thing I could do was increase my pace. Let's talk, Keiichi-kun. Talk. Talk? Why was I running down this unfamiliar, deserted street? Doesn't Keiichi-kun have something he's worried about? Nothing at all. I'm not worried about anything. Liar! Even though I was running. Even though Reina was walking. Why wasn't I getting any further away? I know. I really don't know. You're scared, aren't you, Keiichi-kun? I'm not scared. I'm not scared of anything. Lies! My breathing grew heavy, and I felt like my legs were giving out from underneath me. Reina wasn't even breaking a sweat. I'll listen. This time I'll listen. I had no idea what she was talking about or what exactly she wanted to do. Being chased by a crazy girl with an axe, yeah, I'm not worried at all. This time I'll listen. I will be different from the time with Satoshi-kun. When she said Satoshi's name, I turned back for a moment. But even as I did that, Reina was still advancing. I couldn't afford to stop. Satoshi-kun was worried too. It looked like he was having such a hard time. But I didn't listen. I was so sad. Where did this street connect to? All these twists and turns up and down. It was hard to believe it was even remotely in the same direction towards my house. My sense of direction had long since gone out the window. I really regretted it with Satoshi-kun when he transferred out. I thought if I had just listened, he may not have to have transferred at all. I really regretted it. The road led me deeper into the forest. Wasn't I getting further away from the village the more I ran? I lost more and more of my composure, and the more I thought about it. But despite this realization, my inner self was still disturbingly calm. So you see, I vowed that if there was someone struggling like Satoshi-kun did, I'd save them. I don't want to see anyone transfer out again. Damn it. What does transfer even mean? This street leads to Satoshi-kun's place that he died. Ooh. I won't let you transfer me. I won't end up the same as Satoshi. Come on, Keiichi-kun, talk to me. I'll be able to understand you, Keiichi-kun. I'm your ally. I started wheezing, out of breath. My lungs were so hot that they felt like they were going to explode, and my heart was beating as hard as it possibly could. I should have practiced running instead of swinging. I couldn't even afford to scoff at that stupid thought. If Keiichi-kun doesn't have anything to worry about, he'll go back to normal. Everyone will be back to being friends, and we can enjoy club activities again. Next time, we'll team up and beat Mii-chan, right? Yeah, how much fun that would be. Reina couldn't even imagine how much I had wished I could go back to the clock, and go back to those past few days. They're still insisting he transferred. I wonder if they're gonna get called out on it. Yeah. You could be nice to me again, too. I want to go searching for treasure again. This time I'll prepare a nice lunch. Actually, we could just go right now. Let's go up to the dam site together. I'll show you the cute thing I found. I'm sure you'll like it too. My footsteps made pathetic flapping sounds as my legs wobbled and faltered. Hot on my heels, Reina's steps were sharply breaking twigs under her foot. I had to accept it. I was on the run, being chased by Reina. If she caught me, it was all over. I realized instinctively. I couldn't even begin to think of what the end of the would entail. Just that if I was caught, it was all over. That's all I knew. It didn't matter how it was going to end. I wouldn't let it end. Not without knowing anything at all yet. That momentary lapse was all it took. Of all the things that could have happened, my knees buckled underneath and I crumbled to the ground. I tried to stand frantically, urging my legs to respond. I used the bat as a makeshift cane to prop myself up, but Reina was already standing right in front of me. Compared to me, out of breath and utterly exhausted, Reina was cool and composed, that she could have froze the air around her. She wasn't breathing hard at all, rather, I couldn't even sense if her heart was beating. I wonder if she just tells the truth. Like, the less you are worried about the curse, the less people are hostile to you. Yeah, maybe. Oh my god. Are you afraid of something, I wonder? It's not like you to tremble, Keiichi-kun. Her expression looked almost affectionate. Those soulless eyes, that mask of reflection. As she had admonished for me trembling, Reina's hands deftly slipped over my head. The blur of her arms made me feel as if I was starting to at the godliness of the 1,000-armed Buddha. Then as both her hands met above my head, the action she came into focus. I stirred up in disbelief. It was all I could do. Tell me, what happened to Satoshi? Reina stayed like that, with the axe raised above her head, and solemnly opened her mouth. It was as if she was expressing a farewell to the friend she was never able to see again. That cruel scenario resided somewhere in her actions. I told you, Satoshi-kun transferred. Out. Enough of that transfer crap. It means demoned away, didn't it? Doesn't it? You can tell me now, can't you? Who made Satoshi disappear? Was it you? Mion? Someone in the village? Answer me. I became frantic and the more I screamed. But Reina did nothing but maintain the smile frozen on her face. I have no idea what Keiichi-kun is talking about. Then I'll say it in a way so you do. Who is the perpetrator of the chain of mysterious deaths? You seem to be confused, Keiichi-kun. What? There is no human perpetrator. Everything is by Oyashiro-sama's will. Isn't Oyashiro-sama's curse just superstition? You believe in it too? It's not about believing or not. Oyashiro-sama exists. Period. Reina's gaze drew even more gilded. The ferocity of her stare was so intense, not allowing me to question anything. There's just no way something like Oyashiro-sama could exist. You don't believe? In Oyashiro-sama? There's no way I could believe it. There's no way it could exist. It exists. Oyashiro-sama exists. Keiichi-kun, you should have felt it personally. I've never felt anything like that. Keiichi-kun, haven't you felt someone apologizing to you before? Constantly on top of that? All noise from the outside disappeared. Only Reina's voice resounded loudly, terribly. See, until you forgive them, they'll always be with you. At school, at home, at your bedside. I couldn't understand what Reina was saying. It came to me too. Oyashiro-sama did. That's why I transferred and came back to Hinamizawa. I don't understand. What does transfer even mean? What was Reina saying? Hasn't Oyashiro-sama come to you as well, Keiichi-kun? I'm probably the only one who can confide in. I won't let you get transferred out. Reina's demented laughter clanged around inside my head. Was Reina saying Oyashiro-sama came to her as well? That's right. Last night I heard her about when I asked it about Reina. Please keep this confidential. Also part of this may be speculation. Not all of it may be true. Are you still interested? Oshi-san began speaking. Neither the victims nor the school filed a complaint. There was no preliminary report. Basically, the police hadn't intervened in this matter, so all these details are just what I heard from those involved, meaning it's not that credible. You said there were more victims? Didn't Reina just break all windows? No. Reina Ryugu attacked 3 boys, using a metal bat. 2 of them made it out with only bruises, but the other had been injured so badly that one of his eyes was permanently damaged. Wouldn't that be considered assault? Shouldn't the police have arrested her? For whatever reason, the victim never pressed charges. There was no report to the police, so they were beaten with a bat and suffered significant injuries. Normally there'd be a criminal investigation, but why didn't they press charges? I tried asking the 3 male victims for their side of the story, but they were all reluctant. It's hard to say, but they were all afraid. Even after she had transferred schools, Oshi-san. Could you summarize it starting from the beginning? Reina hit people while she broke the windows? Or was it she started breaking the windows after she got bored of hitting people? They sounded similar, but the meanings were drastically different. On an undisclosed date, Reina Ryugu was conversing with 3 male students, close friends of hers, near the pool storage shed. Who were those 3? I can't reveal their names, but they were close to Reina Ryugu, and it seems they were a group of friends. She was the lone girl in their group, so it wasn't that strange for the 4 of them to be together. So what happened? I don't know the reason why. She took the baseball bat, and that was at the pool storage shed, and beat the 3 of them down, one after the other. What? There were no witnesses. There was an account pieced together by the information given to me at the time. One day after school, Reina and the 3 male students were at the pool storage shed, talking together. They weren't seeking help, rather they usually met up there. It appears it became a heated discussion, and at the time Reina underwent a change. The change was so abrupt that the 3 of them didn't comprehend what was happening. Then, taking the metal bat, she attacked her friends, one after the other. Leaving her friends covered in blood, with gashes on their head, She made her way towards the school building. Then she broke the glass windows one after another. A few minutes later, a teacher appeared on the scene and subdued her. What was the change Reina underwent? What matches up with the statements from the three was a sudden change, to the point where there was a transformation. I also could recall Reina's transformation. I'd seen it change a few times. It was different from the usual Reina, and I couldn't help but believe it was someone else that looked like Reina. That transformation they're talking about, had it happened before? No, nothing like that. As far as I could find out, her medical history and past, there was nothing like that. Does it happen often? Where people just change suddenly like Reina did? Of course it does. There are plenty of psychological phenomena that could cause something like that. Then, you're saying this was a dormant element in Reina that caused this transformation? I cannot say for certain. But according to the statement of her friends, it's hard to believe that she had such a side to her. Kind, caring, adorable. Even before she transferred here, she was probably pretty popular in schools like she was now. That girl transforming suddenly and assaulting them with a bat. Who could imagine such a thing? Nobody could have seen it coming. I, myself, sometimes believe that I was mistaken for thinking that was Reina, even now. Then what happened after that? There was a hospital right across from the school, so the three of them were carried in and treated quickly. What about Reina? What about the police? Why wasn't there a criminal investigation? You see, the police can't get involved unless they're called. Even though one of them was so badly injured, it had permanent damage? Why didn't they file charges? That's what caught my attention as well. Either some threat or pressure was placed on them, or they had a reason they couldn't file charges, even if they wanted to. We're talking about you, after all. Of course you looked into it, didn't you? Well, yeah. But I told you at the beginning, didn't I? The victims were all very reluctant to talk. They didn't want to touch the matter, or rather, they didn't want to be involved. Reluctant to talk. Didn't want to touch it. Didn't want to be involved. It resembled the villagers here in Oyashiro-sama's curse. Did the teacher at the school tell you anything? A school is a hallowed ground. You could say they tried to keep their scandals under wraps. I didn't have a search warrant, so I had to tread lightly, you see. And there was no comment from the school. No. They denied the incident even happened. It's just, 3 male students were carried in with blunt force trauma that day. That's all there was in the hospital records. The victims didn't speak. The school denied it happened. Then you don't know anything at all? Yeah. I know nothing other than the incident itself had taken place. The victims also wished the incident to be kept from the public. So, if you and I both forget about it, Mabara-san, this incident will probably just fade away. For a brief period, we sat in silence. At first glance, it looked like a simple assault case. That was just the tip of the iceberg. The depths were obscured by rolling waves, sinking quietly in the void, as if it never existed to begin with. After that, she was suspended from the school, and during that time, she underwent psychiatric counseling. Did you hear anything from that doctor? Again, they were very professional in regards to their ethics, or at least very tight-lipped. Nothing even after you showed them your badge? I was told to get a warrant. The badge itself is not legally binding authority at all. Then how did you know that Reina confessed that it was Yashiro-sama who did it? That was the nurse that I asked in the department. She agreed to help me just from showing her my badge. Then what did she say? Turns out the nurse hadn't heard anything. Apparently all that she resembled was she overheard from inside the room. The nurse said that at this time, Reina Ryugu was very calm and mild-mannered. It was more like she had confessed her sins at church in a counseling session. She spoke with her mother there for some of it, but partway through her mother was asked to leave, so it became a private counseling session between just the doctor and Reina for a while. The part with the Yashiro-sama, when did that pop up? Partway through. She screamed the name suddenly. That startled the nurse, and that's why she started listening. It was a Yashiro-sama! Reina suddenly shouted that. I had no idea what she said before, so I had no idea what the meaning behind it could have been. The doctor calmly and collectedly asked Reina to have a seat. Was it this Yashiro-sama you speak of? Gently, ever so gently. The fundamentals of counseling were believing what you were told. Whoever abandons Hinamizawa will be hunted down by Yashiro-sama, and they've finally gotten to me. That's the town you lived in before you moved here, isn't it, Ryugu-san? I didn't want to move, but because of my mom and dad's circumstances, I had to. But Yashiro-sama wouldn't allow it. Haruka-san must have lots of friends in Hinamizawa. Even now you must be missing them dearly, don't you think? I want to go back. Back to Hinamizawa. No. It's not that I want to go back. I have to go back. I should have never gone. I should have come back much sooner. But now it's too late. Oyashiro-sama has come. Oyashiro-sama is the name of the god in Hinamizawa, isn't it? Everyone knows. It's Hinamizawa's guardian deity. And if you ever try to abandon Hinamizawa by leaving, you'll incur his wrath. You had moved quite a while ago, didn't you? Then, it was just now that this god has arrived, is what you're saying? You might not believe me, but Yashiro-sama exists. The nurse was asked by another nurse to do something and left the room. That was all she remembered. That was Yashiro-sama's doing, right? I do believe there's a kind of superstition in Hinamizawa, that if you leave the village, then you incur Yashiro-sama's wrath. You should be familiar with this part, Maibara-san. I knew very well those scorned by the village incurred. To hinder the dam construction project, they cursed the construction foreman to his death. Then following years, Satoko's parents, supporters and leading advocates for the dam, were cursed to their death. But this was the first time I've heard of the curse incurred by leaving a village. This is my first time hearing that. I can understand outside threats being caused to the village, but why also villagers who leave? Normally, people who leave the village aren't supposed to be cursed, right? I know it's a bit strange to say, but I could see it as a rule that people that come in are the ones who are to be cursed. Far from Jupiter, far from his thunder. Curses weren't something that chased people when they leave, were they? Oshi-san pondered this a bit over the end of the receiver, then began speaking again. Well, I told you long ago that Hinamizawa was called Onikakushi, didn't I? I recalled hearing that. Long ago, Hinamizawa was feared and respected as the village of the ogres. The villagers at the foot of the mountains worshipped the ogres, so Onikakushi was hollow ground and no one could ever enter. If you came to said that if you entered carelessly, you were cursed by Oyashiro-sama. Those who set foot at Onikakushi, in other words, Hinamizawa, would be cursed. I could understand that, and I know that. But for leaving to also be no good, that's also the ogres, you see. They were being strictly watched by Oyashiro-sama, that they would not enter into our world. In other words, Oyashiro-sama probably restricted interaction between the Onikakushi and the rest of the world. See, I finally understood that sort of thing Oyashiro-sama was. So basically, Oyashiro-sama is more like the warden protective deity, I guess. Trying to keep this place isolated from the rest of the world. I guess that's how it would seem. I'm sorry, I don't know much myself. This is mostly what passed on to me from my grandmother. I could understand it a bit better if it was like that. Those who came into Hinamizawa would be cursed, and those who tried to leave would also be cursed. So because Reina originally lived in Hinamizawa and moved away, she fulfilled the requirements for being cursed. So that means because Reina moved away, against its wishes, she was cursed by Oyashiro-sama. Is that what that adds up to? In short, that seems to be what it points to, I guess. As a matter of fact, soon afterwards they did move back to Hinamizawa after all. Those who abandoned Hinamizawa were left were cursed. But then, why only Reina? Shouldn't Reina's parents also have been guilty of some transgression by moving away when having been cursed? Also, in this day and age in Japan, shouldn't there be a lot of people coming and going? If every single one of them was cursed, then I'd be insane. But in reality, it wasn't that big of a deal at all. At most, there would be some person dying and one disappearing on the day of Watsunagashi. I don't like the saying at most, though. Well, anyways, there's a lot of stuff I still don't know. Even if it was Oyashiro-sama's curse, it doesn't add up as to why her classmates and victims were all beaten with a metal bat. They wouldn't press charges. You don't think the victims were cowering because they believed in the terrible curse had befallen them, do you? Of course I didn't want to believe it. But more importantly, I had just realized something else. There was another bizarre connection that Reina had made between Oyashiro-sama's curse and that metal bat. Satoshi fell victim to Oyashiro-sama's curse and went missing. I had recently learned that Satoshi had also become infatuated with the metal bat right before he disappeared, just like me. Then Reina as well. She was affected by Oyashiro-sama's curse. She confessed that much to the doctor. And the weapon which I'd used at the time, that horrendous act, was again a metal bat. And finally me. I'd encountered various things that were inexplicable, and now I was holding onto a metal bat. I was shocked when I learned that Satoshi did the same thing. It couldn't be. Had the same thing happened to Reina? There was one critical difference between her and Satoshi's case. That being, Satoshi went missing after having fallen victim to the curse, and Reina was still here. Both of them had fallen victims to Yashiro-sama's curse, yet they were met with different endings. And finally me. I couldn't call it a coincidence anymore. Reina, Satoshi, and finally me. Could it be that I was really under Yashiro-sama's curse right now? No, more importantly than that, what should I do now? Satoshi had been demoned away, vanishing without a trace, and Reina was fine. Fine? Reina had undergone a change. I could only believe that there was something that wasn't Reina was residing inside her. And here, right now, it was standing before me. Oh yeah, we were doing this. There was like a flashback and a flashback there. Oh my god. Wondering if Reina submitted to the curse, whereas Satoshi tried fighting it. Oh yeah. That would make a lot of sense, actually. Reina, please tell me. What will happen to me? Reina stood imposingly, not answering. Satoshi disappeared. Oh shit. Satoshi disappeared, but Reina didn't disappear. So what will happen to me? I had never heard such an unpleasant laugh before. It had become akin to the sound of her breathing. It was no longer a voice or expression of feeling. Don't worry. I'll save you. Reina took one step forward, still holding the axe high above her head. Now then. One step closer. Reina's face spread out to fill my vision. Speak. One step closer. Reina's nose was close enough to touch mine, and was still pushing closer. There's something you want to say, isn't there? I'll listen. I'll save you, okay? Speak, okay? Speak, okay? I slumped down, landing squarely on my butt. It wasn't for some pathetic reason. It was all I could do to get as far away from Reina. I ain't laughing that much. I'm sorry. I had the gut feeling that I couldn't let her laughter end. Because when it ended, the moment I picked up that feeling, my body moved on instinct. I sprang to my feet so fast I couldn't believe it, and I pushed Reina with both my hands. Reina was as light as a feather. Thrown about by the unbalanced weight of the axe, she sent backwards as she had been carried off by the wind. After confirming that out of the corner of my eye, I dashed off at full speed. I was the perfect picture of fleeing like a greased pig. Get away from Reina. Run away. Survive. I couldn't think of anything other than this. While I was running, I remembered that I had been holding onto a bat the entire time. Such a worthless weapon. Yes, say what you want to say while being held by an axe. Yes. I couldn't believe I'd forgotten about this weapon at such an important time. I sped even further down the winding path. I didn't even feel myself gasping for breath or my legs getting heavy. My body understood it well. If I didn't run away from here, I wouldn't live. I could hear the laughter of that circling of Reina coming from behind me. It rang through the trees and through my head, and slowly chiseled away at my sanity. The grove of trees thinned out, and my vision suddenly expanded. Where was this? For a moment, I was bewildered at the scenery I felt I knew I couldn't quite remember. I quickly realized. It was the damn site. The fact that I had dashed madly and ended up in a place like this gave me a bad feeling, like I was just following someone's scripted plot. I had a good view of surroundings, but I didn't see a single soul. This was a terrible spot for someone to run, but there was no better place for an attacker. My heart was already on the verge of bursting. My muscles and my legs were screaming, but I didn't care. If I'd stopped here, then they might not be able to hear me scream for much longer. Even still, I glanced back, looking for an excuse to rest. Reina wasn't there. Instead, I saw two villagers walking around. I breathed a sigh of relief that it wasn't Reina, but a third party. Except the voice inside me rang the alarm again. Villagers talking around, suspiciously in themselves, but it bothered me. They both wore rough-looking clothes. Empty-handed, they definitely gave the impression that they were just out for a walk. But at this time of day, two adults wandering about without a purpose, it was enough to raise questions. But more than anything, those eyes. They weren't chit-chatting while walking. They were both silent, heading forward, looking in my direction. Was I at the end of my rope and I had finally started imagining things? I should run. That was probably the best choice. If they weren't involved, I'd lose them easily by running. If they were a part of the group after me, then they would come running after me. Either way, unless I hurried up, Reina would catch up with me. That's right. I was gonna run. Deciding that, the moment I began to turn tail, both of them rushed towards me, as if they knew exactly what I was thinking. Somewhere inside me, I jumped to the conclusion that Reina was the only thing I needed to be afraid of. I made the assumption that I didn't need to fear anything else. But right now, I realized just how blatantly wrong I was. Suddenly, the story of Oshi-san told me about the demons all leaving the village to hunt prey floated through the back of my mind. I could tell they were both coming after me without even turning around because of their frantic footsteps. It was frightening, being able to shake off Reina as she slowly closed in me, but this didn't even compare. Being pursued by such violent ferocity, this straightforward horror was unparalleled. One of the pursuers' arms grazed my shoulder. Now it wasn't just their frenzied footsteps, but also a distinct sound of breathing that I could hear. No, I could practically feel them breathing on me. They were already right behind me. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. Still running at full tilt, I felt the surrounding area go still. No, it felt like the time itself had stopped. I turned my head back slightly in that frozen world, realizing how close my pursuers had gotten to me. I couldn't win against the legs of an adult. In less than the time they would take to blink twice, this frozen time would begin moving again. They'd be right on top of me. And then... Don't think about that, Keiichi. First realize you won't be able to shake them off like this. If the fact that you can't get away was a given, then you need to make a decision. Go with the right leg, go with the left, you just need to decide which one. Let's go with the left. The moment I decided that, the temporal singularity burst into pieces. Right. Left. I swung the bat in a wide arc with my right arm, using the inertia stop to suddenly spin. What? The two of them were clearly startled. Momentarily losing sight of me, both their outstretched arms began to grab me instead, and grasped at an empty space. The man on the right, I applauded him for being able to figure it out, spun around in a spot I shouldn't have been, and faced me with astonishment. But it was too late. I didn't even need to swing my bat. All I needed to do was extend my arms and turn around. It was by no means a heavy blow, but it seemed like it had enough power behind it to knock him off his feet. But just knocking him down wasn't enough to scare him away. He got back up in no time. Both of them looked at a frightening stance, were ready to face me. This made me certain they weren't just two people out for a walk. They were clearly after me. It felt much easier than dealing with Reina. Just not by recognizing their faces, but not knowing them. It made things easier. I smiled wearily on the inside. What do you want with me? Next one's gonna be right in your face, you bastard! It's fine if it was a bluff. By barking out at them, I was able to fire myself up. They didn't respond. They spread out on either side of me with unbelievable calm expressions on their face. One of them would grab onto my bat, and the other one would hold me down. Was that the plan? Taking them on but once, that was impossible. Hot sweat poured down every pore of my body. Then I'd just have to settle it with the first move. I'd step and strike the first one down. Narrowing my target down to the man on the right, who had already been knocked down before, I stepped in and swung with all my might. There was no way an unarmed person could guard against it. It would cause immense damage. If they blocked it with their arm, their bone would snap like a twig. If they turned their back, then it would be impossible. The blow would travel all the way through their vital organs. It looked like I was aware of this. He pushed further through the kill zone between us and delivered the fist fight right into my gut. Not good. With this distance, in this position, and in this state, there was no way to dodge it. The world flipped upside down. I understood that I was being tossed around like a rag doll. I landed on the soft earth without a sound, feeling the grainy soil pressed against my face. It didn't hurt at all. But the moment I thought that, I suddenly felt pain coming from the aberrations on my skin, as well as the contents of my stomach being forced upwards, flooding my mouth with a bitter sensation. I knew very well I didn't have time to relish this experience. I stood up quickly as I could, but that moment, the other man was already barreling towards me. Being able to comprehend calmly that I simply couldn't dodge it made all the more upsetting. After plowing into my stomach full force once again, my assailant twisted around behind me and locked his thick arm around my neck. My throat felt like it was being crushed by immense strength. I couldn't even contemplate what was being strangled, or that I was about to go unconscious. My vision simply darkened, and a silent whining noise began playing deep in my mind. It took everything I had to keep myself from blacking out. While this was happening, the other man was more than likely standing in front of me. I wasn't able to open my eyes, but I could feel he was there. There was nothing I could do now. Unable to shake my arm off me, I couldn't run, I couldn't fight back. Dire straits. I couldn't even come up with a phrase that would accurately describe the situation. Alright. Oh, sorry. Huh. A familiar ceiling. The smell of the bed and pillows. I knew them well. Was this my room? Normally there wouldn't be anyone in my room besides me, but their presence made me spring wide awake. When did that pain shoot through my entire body? Feeling all right? I think you better just lie down for a bit. Why was Raina in my room? Blood began to surge through my muscles and my capillaries. But Raina's smile belonged to the Raina I knew well. I knew I shouldn't let myself feel this way, but I relaxed, thinking this was a version of Raina that was safe. Why am I... Don't you remember? After losing consciousness, nothing at all. My body had become more lethargic than I could have ever imagined. I guess it would be expected the outcome after exerting everything I had back there. I tried to at least clear my head, but I just couldn't shake the sluggish feeling out of my mind. I called the doctor. He should be here soon. I think you better just lie down until then. I wasn't injured seriously enough to merit calling a doctor, but knowing that someone impartial was coming was slightly reassuring. Why am I here? I'm sure it was at the dam site. That's what I want to know. What happened? When I got there, Keiichiken was already passed out. That's why I'm the one who wants to know. I was attacked by two weirdos. As I talked about it, I finally remembered what had happened right before I passed out. Recalling that memory and the terror went along with it. It caused my fogginess around my head to clear right up. Let's forget about those two for now. I didn't expect Reina to be nursing me. I thought Reina was trying to kill me. She would have had the perfect chance to when I was unconscious. Not only did she not kill me, but she nursed me back to health. It's amazing you could drag me all the way back here. Wasn't I heavy? Looking at Reina's delicate frame, it was hard to believe that she was not only gotten me back home, but even dragged me all the way here onto the second floor. Did she have help? Don't you remember, Keiichi-kun? Reina appeared a bit surprised, but still kept her smile. I only propped you up on my shoulder. You said you could walk on your own and that you were fine. You don't remember? I didn't remember. My memory was fuzzy after the point where I had lost consciousness. What about those two? Huh? When you got there, Reina, the ones with me, or those two guys. There wasn't anyone. She said it so bluntly. The way she stated it was slightly unpleasant. I was just too timid at that time. I might have been able to force some answers out of Reina. But if I did that, then this kind Reina might transform into the scary Reina that I didn't know. She's making this up. I wager the two guys brought her back. Ooh. Fearing that, I didn't press any further. Thinking about it, it was an obvious choice. If both of those men were here, I don't think Reina would even have stood a chance. Couldn't find a way to explain it unless I assumed she had brought me here after those two were already gone. Reina was still smiling. Her eyes sparkled warmly, yet I felt like I was hallucinating when I saw something. Something akin to a shadow slowly creeping across her face. That small omen sent shivers down my spine. While Reina was still Reina, I needed to make contact. I needed to contact Oishi-san. Reina stopped me when I tried to get out of bed. She said it was to aggravate my wounds, so I should sleep. I'd like to go to the bathroom, though. Ah, sorry. Reina couldn't say anything else. While Reina stayed in the room, I quickly went downstairs to get the phone receiver in the living room. When I approached the front door, the doorbell rang. It must have been the doctor Reina called. It was strange for a patient to welcome in the doctor who was making the house call, but it was also incredibly reassuring to have him here for the considerable time it would take Oishi-san to get here. I carelessly opened the door with a simple assumption, and I regretted it almost instantly. Mion! Oh, you look just fine. I heard you collapsed, so I came to check on you. How did you know I was collapsed? Heard from Reina over the phone. Do I need any reason than that? I understood why she would call a doctor, but why Mion too? Reina was descending the stairs behind me. Reina, doesn't Keiichi-chan look alright? Sheesh, she made me worry for nothing. That's true. Maybe I worried you for nothing as well. And they both began laughing. Oh my god. It appeared to be a cheerful laughter, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was darkness looming over them. Whoa, what's up with that shoe rack? How did it get like this? The shoe rack I had smashed to pieces had still been like that since yesterday. I, fell, you see, and the bat I was holding at the time slammed into it. That's what happens when you swing around something that you're not used to handling. I kept the fact that it was none of her business to myself. But leaving it like this will really startle your parents when they get home. I'll fix it up for you later. Now come on, Kei-chan. The terminally ill need their rest. Come on back. Back to bed. Both of them urged me upstairs. I had no chance to call Oishi-san. I was pushed into my bed. As if it was the first time Mion had been in my room, she began searching around it intently. She fiddled around my room and was scolded by Reina. You can imagine how it went. It was uncomfortable having my room poked around, but the conversation was benign, so it was heartwarming. How did Mion know he was swinging the bat? He said he hit the shoe rack when he fell. He said he hit the shoe rack and the bat he was holding hit it. That's just like, oh, maybe you shouldn't carry around a bat then. During that innocent conversation, Mion said something as though it was perfectly ordinary. Reina, did you call the manager? Yep. Right after I called Michan. He said he'd be right over. Manager? That out-of-place word gave me a bad feeling. Reina called a doctor. Then called Mion. And after that she called a manager? Who was this manager? Since Reina and Mion's conversation was so peaceful, it only felt slightly odd. What are you two talking about? Who's this manager? Oh, you didn't know, Kei-chan? We mean the manager when we say manager. Like the director of a movie, or like a foreman of a construction site. I dug through all my memories for a manager who might have business with me. True, but it'd be easy to hit the shoe rack and damage it with the bat without swinging it. It's true. I think Mion was just saying swinging because he's always swinging the bat. One thing came to mind. What Reina had just said. The construction site foreman. The very first victim of the incident. The dismemberment of the damned construction site. The foreman? That was strange. He was supposed to be dead. There's no way he could call him. I don't understand what you guys are talking about. What does that manager have anything to do with me? You said he was coming. Did you mean to my house? I asked one obvious question after another, but all the two of them did was smile coolly at each other. There was a huge difference between how those two had been appeared to how suspicious they were playing out. Slowly, I felt discomfort and panic welling up inside me. I couldn't understand what Reina and Mion were talking about. Kei-chan, you've gotten into baseball lately, haven't you? Pretty sure the manager will be happy to hear that. Who is this manager? The manager is the manager. So who is the manager? Reina and Mion looked at each other and laughed hauntingly. This disturbing cackle unpleasantly resounded around me. That laugh, long enough to be unsettling, ended abruptly. Oh yeah, we should finish up before the manager comes. You remember, don't you, Kei-chan? Her face was laughing, but Mion's eyes told a different story. Remember what? Keiichi-kun, had he forgotten, I wonder? About the penalty. The penalty. Did you really forget? The homework with the mochi. The homework you were supposed to guess which one Reina made? You forgot about the homework, didn't you? I certainly did have that homework. But I had thrown away the rest of the mochi after I found the sewing needle, so I wasn't able to answer which one Reina made. The penalty for that? Why now? No doubt, my question was written all over my face. Their answer to my question was dry laughter. I could no longer make heads or tails of anything. I began to think of the entire day was somehow insane, strange, incomprehensible. Being chased by Reina, attacked by the strange men, the penalty Mion and Reina were talking about? What are these two laughing at? I didn't take that long for me to realize I had been dragged by an abnormal situation. Who were these two? Who were these people? Who were these doppelgangers of Mion and Reina? Reina had gotten behind me at some point. Why was she prying my arms behind my back? What are you doing? Don't move. This is your penalty. My body was already very sluggish, and Reina pinning my arms made it that much harder to move. I seriously tried to struggle, but she wouldn't even budge. My panic began to well up. I realized it was well beyond my realm of jokes and pleasantries. This freakishly monstrous strength. It would have to be impossible for the Reina I knew. Then, these thin, frail arms grasping me firmly. Whose arms are these? Hey, Chan, no struggling. Club rules. There are no exceptions. You can't fight against the penalty. Mion, no. The thing that looked like Mion spoke to me just like how Mion would speak. But I was certain that this was not Mion. Someone who wasn't Mion. Someone who was just pretending to be Mion. Need to finish this up before the manager comes. Mion fisted her into her pockets and pulled out something bizarre. I could tell what it was just by looking. But for such a thing to be in her pocket, my mind wouldn't accept it. What is that? It was a small syringe. It was a small, clear syringe, like what a doctor would use when you went to him when you were sick. Reina held me tighter. I couldn't hear the clattering laughter that no longer sounded like laughter blaring in my ear. That eerie laughter. It wasn't something that the Reina I knew would ever produce from her own throat. This thing that was pretending to be Reina. Was this its real laugh? Unable to defend myself, the syringe Mion was holding drew closer, and that needle tip was waved in front of my face countless times. Don't worry, don't worry! It won't hurt, it won't hurt! What are you planning on doing? What kind of sick joke is this? What are you saying, Kei-chan? You know exactly what's going on, don't you? About what? I don't understand any of this at all. I know you know. No use in playing the fool this late in the game. Stop talking this nonsense and trying to confuse me. You're going to have to do what you happened with Tomotaki-san. What? Same as Tomotaki-san? I really didn't understand what she meant. What did this have to do with that syringe? You're playing dumb, Keiichi-kun. You should have realized it by now. Reina whispered in my ear, laughing as if she was to admonish me. But even the way she spoke was repulsive and beyond compare. Playing dumb? Me? About what? What do you mean the same as Tomotaki-san? Everyone thought at first that it was just a hit and run. Except when the officer got closer to check if he was still alive, he soon noticed it wasn't a normal situation. His throat was scratched out. From a knife or something. No. Nails. Nails? Nails like his fingernails? With those, he gouged through? That's right. Tomotaki-san had plowed out his own throat and his own nails and died. There's no way someone could die like that. So then, for that to happen, we thought drugs were to blame, but nothing of that nature was detected. That's right. The police didn't find any drugs in Tomotaki-san's system. The police told me. They didn't find any drugs in Tomotaki-san's body. The two of them laughed together like that sickening laughter. Of course they'd laugh. To assume that such a medicine didn't exist just because the police didn't know about it was completely foolish. Meaning the drug that caused Tomotaki-san to die in such a bizarre manner, it did exist. If Mion injected this into me, then what would probably be all proof I needed? That would basically mean I'd end up the same as Tomotaki-san. I'd become hysterical and scratching out my own throat, last moments, and then die. For such an outrageous drug to exist. For Mion to be holding it. And that was about to be injected with it. And at that moment, I did not feel there was any need whatsoever to question it. What kind of idiot, when he's trying to dodge a ball flying straight in his face, was the time to think of a reason as to why it was flying at him? Just give up. Alright then. Mion's actions lacked any gravitas, and it made it even more terrifying. There was none of the ceremonial like someone sentenced to death. There was no hesitation at all, as if she were brushing her teeth. Mion reached out with one hand, grabbed my chest. It felt like electricity had run through the back of my head. The entire world had gone dark. Did I stand up too fast? Or did someone hit me really hard in the back of the head? Having lost my sense of balance, I was assaulted by the wave of dizziness. Bruh. I squatted down for a bit. When I came back to my senses, my entire room had changed drastically. The numbness in my head was gone, and slowly I could tell the blood was flowing into my extremities again. How long had I been squatting there? How many minutes? Or had it been hours? It was almost as if the hands on the clock had stopped moving the entire time my eyes were closed. That's how little time had passed. Really. The air in the room wasn't filled with that madness from before, only a dull silence. Reina wasn't there, pinning my arms, and Mion wasn't there, about to inject me with that needle. Ichiko now watching things from the afterlife, yeah. He was murdered, now he's in spectator mode. No way. Could it be? All of it was just a hallucination? There was no other presence in the room besides my own. It was the weirdest experience I've ever had. I was certainly with Reina and Mion. I doubted my sanity for a moment, but I was also seized by some sort of comfort. I guess that terrible ordeal was just a hallucination. Neither Reina or Mion, they would never do something so terrible. My head grew hot. I could tell my emotions were welling up. But why? There wasn't a reason to cry. Why? It was sorrow. Why was I sad? I don't understand. I don't understand. Kind to everyone? Not discrimination against age or gender? Mion? That Mion was sprawled by the window in an unnatural pose. Blood strained her from a deep red to her head down to her chest. The bright crimson smeared on the walls. That splattered and undoubtedly came from Mion. She always had a bright smile and was kind for me from the day I transferred. Reina? The same Reina was slumped at my feet and was making the same pool of blood as Mion. Couldn't comprehend what had happened. Did someone come to save me? Then they beat these two down? With this metal bat? I finally noticed the weight in my right hand. How long had it been there? It was Satoshi's metal bat. It was covered in a deep red. There was no doubt that this was the weapon used to mutilate both of them. And I was holding that weapon. I was the only person in the house. What? Looking at this objectively, I couldn't think of anyone other than myself who could have done it. I did this? That's right. Keiichi Maibara. Of course I did it. I told myself gently, as if coaxing myself. Hey, me. There's no reason for you to remember it, nor is there any need to regret it. Eat or be eaten. You get that, don't you? But the blood. Their blood. There's so much. Neither Reina nor Mion had moved an inch. It wasn't just split forehead or a trickle of blood. Nothing that simple. The entire room was splattered with red, and that told me it didn't end with just 2 or 3 strikes. Were they dead? Both of them? The depths of my mind were calm, but on the surface I was panicking and agitated. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. What happened to your usual calm self? Come on now. Do like you always do. Throw your head back and take a deep breath. Come on. Once, twice. Breathe deeply. Calm down. Calm down. I chanted that over and over in my head and relaxed. Color came back to my vision, and smells reinfused the air. At the same time, I remembered what happened and I blacked out. Reina and Mion had attacked me. They were about to inject me with whatever caused that same symptoms as Tomotaki-san. But right before that happened, I fought back. I twisted my whole body and threw Reina as she was pinning my arms. Then I followed through the spin and rammed my foot hard as I could into Mion's torso. It was soft. Reina tried jumping on me, so I tackled her as hard as I could and slammed her against the wall. I didn't let that brief moment of having them off balance slip by. Satoshi's bat was left carelessly by the side of my desk. At that moment, everything went pitch black. There was nothing recording past this point in the videotape of my mind. No, that wasn't right. It wasn't that there was nothing recorded. It was recorded just fine. Just the other me inside myself had told me not to look at it and turned off the TV. Just because the screen had gone black and I couldn't see didn't mean that the videotape within me hadn't recorded it. The TV was just off. The video was still playing. The tape within me creaking along, still playing. On the other end of the pitch-black screen, that horrifying video was still playing on. Compared to this, though, the scene right before my eye was still so difficult to take in. There was blood splattered everywhere on the walls, and the two of them in these unnatural poses. Not a sign of movement from them. I couldn't even tell if they were both breathing. No matter what the circumstances were, my friends, these girls, I had attacked them. I may have even killed them. But if I hadn't done this, I would have been the one done for. Balancing that out in my imaginary scale, it felt odd that I'd even feel bad about it. Even if it was a bit excessive, this was justifiable self-defense. The proof was all here. The two of them collapsed here in Mion's syringe filled with some unknown drug that would certainly solve the mystery surrounding the incident with Tomotaki-san. And from the fact that both these two were involved, they'd be able to pick up the criminals one after the other. Still, I might be suspected for this, but that was just fine. Anyway, now this should be a police affair. This wouldn't fade into the darkness like Reina's past incidents. As long as the police were involved, they should bring this to a close. They'll probably revisit their investigation on the chain of incidents. Oshi-san would definitely get to the bottom of it. Meaning my wish of not wanting to die, of wanting to know the truth, that would be fulfilled in the most basic form. It was all a matter of time now. The doctor Reina called should be getting here soon. I'll confess everything to him. I needed to contact Oshi-san. At that moment I remembered. Besides the doctor, a manager had been called. It was easy to imagine what there was someone deeply involved in the incidents, judging from Reina and Mion's conversation. The ache in my chest caused by the gruesome deed had dissipated rapidly. It was not over yet. This place was no longer safe. Stay calm, Keiichi Maibara. It's not over yet. I needed to live long enough to tell the police of the incident, and at that moment I felt like I heard someone's voice outside. Since people were speaking, it must mean there was more than one person. I moved the curtain over slightly and peered outside. It was a bizarre sight. About 4 or 5 grown men were all gathered at the gate. They very much resembled the 2 men that had assaulted me from the dam site today. Those 2 might even be among them. There was one person who was wearing a white coat, but he didn't look like a doctor at all. My gut told me he was in disguise, only posing as a doctor. The guy would probably ring the bell to get me open the front door, pretend to be a doctor and get me to open the door, and the rest of them were all rushing at once. At that moment, I saw a car parked behind the men, and my heart nearly skipped a beat. The white van! No mistaking it. That van. The one that had tried to run me down. The man in the white coat entered the gate and headed towards the front door. The rest of the men hid in the bushes and watched him. I probably couldn't pretend I wasn't home. Undoubtedly, they'd just break the window and enter. I needed to get out of here somehow. Then use a public phone and contact Oshi-san. Then meet up somewhere. First of all, I need a weapon. Then shoes. Before all that, there's one thing I had to do. I had no intention of dying. I'd live and reveal the truth about this nonsensical curse of a Yashiro-sama. But what would happen from here on, regardless of how determined I was, may bring about my demise. And that is why there was one thing more important than getting out of here right now. I need to get the clock out quickly and take down the note I'd hidden behind it. Damn it. The tape was sticking to it so fast. It'd be fine if it was torn a little. I opened up the slightly torn note and began writing another passage on the ballpoint pen. If I wasn't able to inform Oshi-san, then the only thing I could rely on was this note. I'd never thought a piece of torn, college-ruled notebook paper could be this reliable before. I had no time. I'd only write what I knew right now. I needed to leave some sort of information that would lead them to uncover the truth. Reina and Mion are conspirators and perpetrators. This was an undeniable fact, and I still didn't want to believe it, but it was a fact. Anyway, I'd leave all the information that would help them lead to finding the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This was everything I was able to see from the window. There may be more. Also, there is that undefined person known as the manager. To begin with, the term manager didn't even mesh at all with Hinamizawa. If they were going to include managers from past incidents, then they only wanted the construction foreman, the victim from the first murder. The very first victim in the chain of incidents. Killed by lynching, and his body divided in 6 pieces. His right arm never discovered. The police would have confirmed that death. But Reina and Mion did not call him manager. They called him manager. They wouldn't use that term to refer to someone who was now dead. The police would never convince that someone who was deceased would be involved. Could that be some sort of oversight? I don't know. But even if I didn't know, I could bring the whole hint for Hiroshi-san. That's right. They needed to start fresh from the first incident. It wasn't just simple dismemberment and the start of a string of mysterious deaths that would follow. So then, there must be something written here. Please, reinvestigate the victim from the dismemberment incident. He's alive. His death should have been established after an autopsy. Logically, you would think as much. That was really the case? Could have been some sort of ploy that they were able to deceive the police with. I shouldn't jump to conclusions, but he may still be alive. I had no time to ponder that right now. Oh yeah. There's something even more important I needed to write. Tomotaki-san's death was from an unknown drug. That's right, that drug. It was an irreplaceable piece of evidence, no doubt, and just by having this, everything should be uncovered. I couldn't just leave that vital clue lying on the floor. The syringe is proof. Writing that down, I stuck the syringe on the back of the clock. With plenty of tape. So it would absolutely not slip out and fall on the floor. Firmly. The bell rang. They were here. I couldn't write anymore, but even still, there was one last thing I had to write. I have no idea why it's come to this. This may be the closest thing to the truth out of everything I've written on that note. If you are reading this, then I am probably already dead. Though you may or may not find my body. Am I going to write down everything I could that happened, either dying from the curse, or being demoned away? You, who are reading this, please uncover the truth. That is my only desire. With this, my last will and testament was complete. It wasn't certain that I was going to die, but it was my final plea, just in case. I folded the note, stuck it back on the back of the clock, and returned the clock to its usual spot. I couldn't help but pray. Oshi-san, if something happens to me, I leave the rest to you. After that, I gazed down silently at Reina and Mion. This was probably the last time we'd ever see each other. Reina, Mion, I really had thought all of us were friends. But why did it end up like this? Never had any fun in my previous school. I only worried about standardized test scores, about if the school I'd hoped to was really wanted to, or a safety net. That was all I talked about. It was a really dull life. The people I called friends were also my rivals in studying and competitions and personal records and standardized test scores. Everyone here taught me how unhealthy that lifestyle was. This month was really fun. Making a fuss over lunch, making a fuss over club, making a fuss over the festival. Something hot began dripping from my face, uncontrollably. Tears. I should have no obligation to shed tears for them. They wouldn't stop. Even if they were in the afterlife. Even if they were trying to kill me. Everything had happened this month. I wouldn't forget it. Or could it be these happy days were all that a facade as well? Was it all a trap, meticulously orchestrated up until the day to ensnare me? Could it have been that I just apparently assumed that they were my friends? That couldn't have been the case. Both Reina and Mion, they were really my friends. Those happy days. There was nothing fake or unclear about them. Someone probably forced them to try and kill me. Or their minds were taken over, possessed by the supernatural entity known as a Yashiro-sama. Regardless, both Reina and Mion, they were my best friends ever. And if they were coming after me, it wasn't of their own volition. Wait. They weren't the kind of people to sell off their friends, regardless of whether or not they were forced. There's no way such a thing that being possessed by Oshi-sama could have been happening in reality. Then, did the real Reina Mion come after me? What was I thinking? What a silly, dumb idea. Having beaten down both Reina and Mion, I was still debating if they were the real ones or fakes. There was no real or fake. Only the reality that was before me. Reina and Mion were sprawled out at my feet, and that was the only truth. I was only trying to twist the facts to my benefit that had been beating my friends to death. No matter how I spun it, it wouldn't change reality. Reina and Mion were both dead. It felt like there was a crack in the dam of the strange emotions I was holding back. It felt like my calm state, which was nothing more than a bluff, had receded, and in that opening, insanity was leaking out. I killed them. I killed them. Reina and Mion. I killed them. The doorbell rang again. The unrelenting echo pulled me back into the state of composure again. I didn't have a moment to spare. Quickly, I needed to get away. I didn't want to die. I would uncover everything after that. The identity of whoever had pushed me this far. Even if I had to drink mud and eat grass, I would survive. I would survive. I would definitely survive. I killed Reina for that very reason. I also killed Mion. I went that far just to keep living. So I can't die. For my sake and for the sake of the late Reina and Mion, I have to survive. I ran towards the door and grabbed my shoes. The doorbell rang again, as if to urge me on. Behind this single solitary door, they were there. Keeping quiet, I headed towards the kitchen, heading towards the back door. Before opening the back door, I put my ear to it and checked for people outside. No one? After I put on my shoes, I opened the door slowly so as to not make a sound. There he is, the back door! A piercing voice echoed out. The voice stabbed through me, setting my hair to the end. I had to run. To get out of here, Keiichi. One after the other, I felt stuff like rationale and intelligence, those things you use when you have time to spare, spill out of me. I didn't feel any pain for the branches scratching my arms and forehead. My autonomously pulsing heart also felt neither fatigue nor pain. My entire being just wished to live. There was nothing else it desired. It probably had no complaints whatsoever, so of course I wouldn't feel fatigue. I just ran, just recklessly rushing in the direction I was already heading. Even if nobody was chasing me, I'd still be running like this. There wasn't a thought in my mind about where I was heading. Turning around, I felt presence right next to me. The presence was without a doubt chasing me like my shadow. It took even one misstep. I would be devoured. That's what I thought. So I didn't turn around. I didn't stop. I ran. At full speed. That was the chirping of the Higurashi telling me it was evening, trying to tell me something that I had finally heard it. There was a wailing cry of the victims who didn't make it. Would I be joining them? Only the Higurashi knew. They knew everything. They definitely knew. So I ran towards where I could hear more of the Higurashi's chirps. But further I ran, the further away the chirping became. I couldn't get near him. Why are you all running away? Was it my fault? Was I the one to blame? Then I'll apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 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 I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I felt that only the Higurashi knew. Oh, man. Oh, what's up, Rusu? What did I miss? Oh, boy. So we killed some people. We definitely beat to death Mion and Reina, and are now on the run, because a bunch of men pulled up outside our house and are chasing us. The smoke room was filled with a cloud of cigarette smoke. The expensive smoke filter gave off some crackling electric noise, but it didn't seem like it was doing anything at all. Why do smokers have to be shoved so far in the corridor where the sun can't even reach? Good. I recalled hearing the tax revenue from the tobacco was about a tenth of the municipality's revenue. Oh yeah, and they almost injected Casey with a drug. We're the most heavily taxed members of this municipality, but I really wish they'd show us a little more respect. Did we get that copium or nah? I'm gonna go with nah. Why would they discard 5 Manzu here? It's just decreasing our options. One of the younger detectives was an amazing staring contest with the Mahjong magazine called Next Turn. You're still in the Tenpai if you cut out 5 Manzu. If you're betting on Heitai, you shouldn't be able to go into the Manjin. Kuma-chan, look at the pond. They all discarded 5 Manzu, it's still a safe tile. You'd hate it if at the endgame someone was sitting on the Tenpai in your last turn, wouldn't you? The kid let out another groan, put out his cigarette and took out another one. I just don't agree. Why would you reduce your own options? By the way, you can't call Ron on your winning tile at the Heitai. What? Why is that? Just then I realized a voice coming from down the hall. Are you here, Oshi-san? You have a call from a civilian. Whoa, ain't that something? See you soon. Why can't you call Ron on it? Hold on for a moment, Oshi-san. The man sitting in the seat Oshi-san was heading towards. We have waved the telephone receiver. Outside line, from a payphone. Oh, thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting. This is Oshi. Who is it? Oshi-san. Hello? Well, if it isn't my Bara-san. Why, good evening. From the tone of my Bara-san's voice, I already knew he was in a predicament. This was the first time my Bara-kun had phoned me, and he was calling from a payphone. Please calm down. Did something happen? Well, His voice was erratic over the line. He had completely lost his sense of composure. After checking that nobody else could hear, I prompted him into a hushed tone. What happened? I... Calm down, my Bara-san. I can have the local officers head to your location. I'll be there soon, too. I think that's impossible. His voice was quivering and hoarse. He wasn't surrounded by people, even as he was making this call, was he? My Bara-san, you're calling from a payphone right now, right? Where's that payphone? It There was no other sounds besides Maibara-kun's voice. I had the phone booth. I scratched out a notebook and thrust it at my colleague sitting across from me. Hinamizawa phone booth. He understood quickly and hastily started in the internal lines. Calm down, Maibara-san. What is your current situation? It usually wasn't a good idea to tell someone panicking to do so, but this was not a usual case. Maibara-kun didn't get in trouble, get away, and then call me. He was in the midst of something dangerous right now. But yelling at Maibara-kun right now would just needlessly cause him to even be more frantic. Maibara-kun wasn't just calling to seek help. He was trying to tell us something more than that. And whatever that was, if I didn't get it from him this call, I was certain there would never be another chance. My colleague pushed a note in front of me. There's only one booth in Hinamizawa. A patrol car is on the way. 5 minutes. That's too long. How many officers are there? 2. Not enough. If it was as I had imagined, there was likely quite a few people surrounding Maibara-kun. 5 minutes was too long. Did you call an officer stationed in Hinamizawa? He's scheduled to be on patrol. They're currently out, and it'll be impossible to contact them. God damn it. Kuma-chan, bring the car around. Understood. Hello? Oishi-san? Hello. It's all right. I can hear you loud and clear. There was something wrong with Maibara-kun. There wasn't a normal coughing sound. Vomiting? Or was it blood? He had already been attacked? Was he injured? Maibara-san, the police are on their way. They'll be there in a couple minutes, so hold on somehow. Hello? Can you hear me? Maibara-san! I could hear the end of the line that he was having a coughing fit. The worst possible situation had popped in my head. Maibara-san, who is the culprit? How many are there? I thought at first the culprit was a human. I couldn't tell if it was a cough or vomiting. Are you all right, Maibara-san? I thought that the culprit was a person and not Oyashiro-sama's curse. Up until right now. But I guess, in the end... It was an intense bout of coughing, then vomiting. But I guess Oyashiro-sama does exist. No, he's here. Maibara-san, please just calm down. I've been thinking it was strange for a while now. It's been following me this whole time. I run, and I run, and I run, and I run. But it just sticks to me like a shadow. But slowly, so slowly, it's digging itself into my back. Maibara-san, are they, right now perhaps, right behind you? Behind me? Right. Behind me? Please, Maibara-san. I can tell you're scared, but please, who is it that's right behind you? I can't just look behind me. If I do, I understand you're scared, but please tell me. You just need to turn around just a bit. Who is it? Who is behind you, Maibara-san? Right after I said that, I could hear him vomiting intensely. What followed was a nightmarish sound. Maibara-san? It couldn't be that you're clawing out your own throat. There was no answer, but I could hear something like scratching. There was a bang, as if something was being hit. Maibara-kun had probably dropped the receiver. I could hear groaning and vomiting over the other end, and repeating, in an abnormal noise. Hello? Hello? Maibara-san, hello? I knew how far my voice would sound on the other end. I couldn't help but shout. At that moment I heard whispering coming from the other end. I couldn't tell what he was saying. From the way he was saying it, was he talking to himself? Or was he talking to someone there? Hello? Maibara-san! Rather than whispering, it was some kind of mantra he was chanting over and over. I focused all my senses, trying to pick up what he was saying. What was he repeating? What exactly? Suddenly the line went dead. Did he use up his time? It was because it was a payphone. It was just because it cut so abruptly. The last thing he came out was so clearly in my mind. Oshi-san, the car is good to go. Oshi-san? It was... I'm sorry. Oshi-san? That's what he was repeating over and over. He said, "I'm sorry." I had a gut feeling. There was no longer a need to hurry. I could hear the chirp of the Higurashi spilling in from the open window. I shouldn't be able to hear them this entire time. I just wasn't paying attention. Why did I focus on all of them all of a sudden? Were they trying to tell me something? Only the Higurashi knew. That's how it felt. July, 1983. In Hinamizawa, a remote village near Shishibone City, there is a murder involving 2 female students. Hey, I didn't get to finish reading that. They suspect called over 2 female students, Reina Ryugu and Mion Sonozaki, to his house and beat them to death with a metal bat. The scene of the crime was the suspect room on the 2nd floor of his house. The inside of the room was covered with significant quantity of splattered blood, and there were signs of a struggle with the victims. In addition to the scene of the crime in the entryway, living room, the kitchen, were traces of a struggle. At the entryway, a shoe rack on the wall had been evidence of being impacted by a strong, blunt force. It is believed that they have been the same bat as the murder weapon. Having no traces of blood, it was believed the destruction occurred before the murders. There was a possibility that the suspect overpowered his victims to keep them from fleeing. In the living room, the rug had been pulled back and thrown aside. It's hard to believe that they had a connection to the struggle of the victims, and thus the reason for this remains unknown. In the kitchen, the garbage bag was torn apart, and its contents spread out on the floor. Garbage was strewn about in a surrounding area, and handprints believed to belong to the suspect were discovered. It is believed that the suspect had for some reason taken out the garbage and struck it with his fists. The reason for this remains unknown. In addition, there was a note stuck to the fridge, and the words, "Was there a needle?" was written on it. The meaning behind this remains unclear. Just in case, the garbage was searched, but a needle was not discovered. Through the garage door was functional. It had been left open ever since the suspect moved in. The garage door was found closed. The suspect's fingerprints were discovered on the garage door. The reason behind this remains unknown. The suspect fled the scene of his crime. However, a patrolling officer, Himizawa Local PD, found the suspect collapsed inside a phone booth. At the time of discovery, the suspect was unconscious and critical condition. He was rushed to the local hospital for treatment, but did not regain consciousness and died 24 hours later. The results of the autopsy indicate that the immediate cause of death was from the hyperbolic shock. It was determined that the suspect had clawed at his own throat with his fingernails, resulting in bleeding, causing his death. With the similarity of the death to Tomotaki-san the prior week, the police believed there would be a connection and have opened an investigation. However, due to the wishes of local authorities, it will be a confidential investigation. Due to the abnormal nature of the death, it was suspected that drugs were involved, but as with Tomotaki-san, no traces were discovered. What prompted all this remains inexplicable. As such, the case being treated as an act of committed on impulse. However, with several accounts of the suspect's bizarre behavior leading up to the incident, it is possible that this was premeditated. Separated from his group of friends, isolated, inexplicable behavior, several days before the incident, the suspect began carrying around a metal bat. The suspect was observed displaying aggressive behavior as well as talking to himself at school. His classmates have actually heard portions of what he was saying. 2 days before the incident, the suspect declared to his parents the possibility of his death. Due to these circumstances, the police had begun to investigate the possibility that this crime was not committed on impulse, but was instead planned several days in advance. Afterwards, a note was found in the suspect's room that had written himself. There was a note, and was written on 2 sheets of B5 one-ruled college notebook, torn in half. It was trying to conceal that it was struck behind the clock and the wall. The contents are as written as an appendix. The police believed it to be strongly related to the incident. The police changed the line of investigation based on the possibility the suspect was involved in some sort of incident himself. However, no further clues were found, casting doubt on the credibility of the note. Was the crime impulsive or premeditated? With the situation unclear, no further developments in the case have been labeled as unresolved. However, the following year, suspicions arose regarding the nature of the note. The note was written on 2 halves of B5 paper from 2 separate sheets, but originally there was a single sheet of B5 paper. In order to erase several lines from the middle, someone had torn them out. Judging from the size of the letters, the missing section estimated to be 2 to 3 lines. It is highly probable that the person who eliminated the lines in question was not the suspect. In addition, judging from the traces of large quantities of cell phone tape being struck to the back of the clock, speculation that something other than the note was stuck there had arisen. The person who first discovered the crime was the detective rumored to have connection to the incident, Kurando Oishi. He underwent voluntary questioning, but denies the involvement in any damages to the note. The suspect's note. I, Kaiichi Maibara, am in fear of my life. I do not know if they are after my life, why they are after my life. The only thing I know is it has to do with the Yashiro-sama's curse. Reina and Mion are conspirators and the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more, and they have a white band. This is on the first sheet. Everything below had been ripped out. This is from the second sheet. Everything above has been ripped out. I have no idea why it has come to this. If you are reading this, then I am probably already dead. Though the only difference may be there is a presence or lack of a body. You who are reading this, please uncover the truth. This is my only desire. Kaiichi Maibara. Oh boy. A new scenario has been unlocked. All cast review session has become available. Play it, select extra on the title menu, and then click the all cast review section. Hey! Got the achievement. Please unveil the truth, it said. Completed the Onikakushi book. Let's go. The end, yeah. Guess Oshi-san took the syringe. Don't know. Well, we don't know. When he was questioned, he said he didn't touch it. He said that he didn't know about it. Wait, is Oshi-san the one investigating these murders? He was looking into them. It wasn't in an earlier chapter he talked about it, where he had been on the investigation for some of them, but because the police eventually ruled that they were all separate incidents, that he couldn't investigate them all together like he was doing. So he had just been looking into them on his own. So it wasn't a real investigation, he was just looking into them by himself, because the police didn't think they were connected. What a chapter. Yeah. Nah. Inciting, instigating. Yeah, good shit. Ooh. Wonder if Mion got the syringe from Oshi. Oh man, I don't think she did. But then again, I also know, like, I've watched the anime, but man, was this so much better. Like, this whole book, like, how long does this take us? Like, just this chapter was 2 hours, I don't know. 12 chapters, averaging about an hour each, it's like 12 hours, right? About-ish of content. Literally, this whole book is the first 4 episodes of the anime. So basically, Mion and Reina died by the hand of Keiichi. Yes, facts. It begs the question of where the syringe came from in the first place. Who knows? But Keiichi was killed by Yashiro-sama's curse. Maybe. Or it was that drug, and they did get him with the drug before he, like, flipped out and beat him to death. We don't know. Because, like, I mean, Keiichi said, he's like, I kind of blacked out. I don't remember. But yeah. That was the first book of Higurashi, which is great. It was so great. It sets it up so well. Reina followed Keiichi into the forest, and they talked over the curse, and she was threatening him with an axe. She did do that, yeah. forget. I don't know exactly how many books there are. But yeah, no. This one did such a good job. It was like, literally the first thing it says in chapter 1 is, hey, this is the first book. Don't worry about the mysteries too much. We want you to just get familiar with Hinamizawa and have some fun. What fun! Keiji pushed her away, ran, got caught by 2 strangers who had empty faces. Okay, so either he had copium or Yashiro-sama cursed. Yeah, I guess we don't know what else happened after he blacked out when the 2 strangers strangled him. We also don't know what happened there. Unclear how he got brought back to his house. Unclear if maybe they just drugged him then, you know. Yeah. Them saying that this is basically what happened with, like, Satoshi too. Good book. That was so long. My throat hurts. They strangled him till he passed out, woke up in his bed with Reina. She says he blacked out and walked home with Reina. My opinion, 2 guys carried him home. It's true. But if they were the ones who carried him home, it's weird that they didn't just, like, drug him then when he was, like, out of it. You know? If that makes sense. I'll have to rewatch where I left off. But yeah, we finished it. I don't think I'll go back and read the extra things with everybody. I think it's just literally bonus stuff. I don't think we'll need it, but I'll let... If I do see that it has facts in it, I can definitely update you guys if we start the next book. I think next week, just to give myself a bit of a break from Hinamizawa, Higurashi, all this bloody murder, we're gonna read one of the routes in Hakuoki, and then we'll come back and do the next book of Higurashi. But Mion had the drug, not either of them and Reina. I mean, we don't know that. We don't know that. Could have been. Could have been. Might not have been, though. That'd probably be better than any of our summaries. It's true. Do you have plans to do the other visual novels? Yes. Yes, I do. Gotta go again. See you later, mistress. Bye, Rusu. See you next time. But yeah, definitely plan on reading the next, the other books of Higurashi. Like I said, I just want a break. So we're just gonna read a route in, Hakuoki before we jump into the next Higurashi book. Because, like, the Hakuoki ones, I think those can be finished up in, like, 1 or 2 weeks. 3 weeks sometimes. We do know that Mion was the one who had it when she showed up. It's true, but who's to say that those 2 guys and Reina didn't have them with them, like, when they were chasing him through the woods? We just don't know. But fair. I'm sure we get... I mean, of course we get more answers the more books deep we get. But this one was literally just to set up the mystery. And with that, I'm gonna call it there. Oh my goodness. I'm glad I was kind of scared because, like, the last chapter we read, it was almost 2 hours. So I'm like, damn. And that wasn't even the finale. I was really worried this finale was going to be like 3 hours. I'm like, am I going to be able to read that long? Oh my god, my throat. So yeah. Alright. Well, we did finish Higurashi Onikakushi. Yay! Clap, clap, clap. And next Sunday, we'll just start Hakuoki Kyoto Winds. And then we'll do a route in there, and then we'll come back with the next book of Higurashi. I'll try and have it planned out a bit better. And also try and work out if maybe we can't do it more than once a week. I'll see, though. Next week, we're going to be trying something. I'll put the schedule up pretty soon here. Wait, there's more? So, if so, how many books are yet to be done? Ooh, that's a good question. I know there's at least, like, 3 more books, but I'm pretty sure there's more. Also, I'm pretty sure there's, like, other things that tie into the Higurashi lore that we could read. Like the Umineko series. There's, like, 6 Higurashi VNs, IDK for sure. Yes, that sounds about right. Because there's, like, 6 seasons of the TV show. Which is crazy to think about because, like, the first season of the anime covers, like, 3 or 4 books. I don't know if they do it great. But I mean, it's a good watch, but okay. How many Higurashi games wait, no, let's not do games, because I know there's a fighting game. How many Higurashi books are there? Shut up, that ain't right. This first result said there's 38. Nuh-uh. What order should I read Higurashi? Okay, and this list says there's 10. This one says there's 8. Yeah, this one says if you just want to do the main story, there's only 8 visual novels. If you want some more bonus answering of questions, there are volumes 9 and 10. This wasn't really adapted to be a visual novel, but it still is considered part of the main manga. Oh, it's manga that they want you to read after the 8 games. Well then. We'll say 8 then. No, wait, and this is just the first? Yeah, this was just the first book. Onikakushi, the demoning away arc, is what this one was called in English. Keiichi certainly got demoned away. I forget which arc it is, but... And I don't think it's a spoiler to say, but there is one that's a bit of a flashback arc where we get to see what happens with Satoshi. That one's probably one of my favorites. Satoshi is one of my favorite characters. We'll get to hear more about him. At least if it follows the same anime plots, anyway. Oh god. We have like 2 years. We have like content for 2 years. Listen, it's fine. I like it. That'll be quite the vocal workout. Honestly, good. I need it. We gotta get good so we can do this, like, bigger endurance streams, yeah? So yeah. Yes, this is literally just the first book. Which is another reason why, like, I think I'm gonna try and look into maybe doing these visual novel readings more than once a week. Well, we'll see, though. We'll see. I mean, at the beginning, the chapters were only taking, like, 40 minutes. So, I mean, you could definitely squeeze in early chapters if they're only gonna be that short. Looking at the covers for some of the games. Ooh, careful. I don't know if there's spoiler. I mean, there wouldn't be a spoiler on a cover, would there? Nah. But I always get nervous about that. The art varies in quality. Oh, yeah, okay. Let me see. Can I show you guys? Because I've been playing this with the updated art. I didn't, like, use the, old art. I don't think there's a way for me to show you, though. Display mode, no. Character sprites. The updated or original? We have been playing with the updated art. These books are old. They are old. So some of them I'm sure just has like the old art on the front. You like the art in this one? Yeah, no, it's really good. Cause personally I read a little bit of this book way back when I first got it, and I used the old original art. I was not a fan. I wonder if I can can I just, if we do original art, close, and then we go somewhere where they're talking, right? Day 15. Huh? That's how they're numbering this shit? Alright, let me just click through to see if we can't... Yeah, see? So this is the old art. Yeah, the covers use the old art. So this is what Reina looked like on the old art. Let's see if we can't see Mion. Or like their crazy expression. I don't think I've ever seen the crazy expressions on this old art. Was not for me, dog. They have like those like weird Miiverse hands where they have like 3 fingers. Not for me, dog. It's a no for me. Wait, what does this do? Ah. Oh, there's me. She had a gun! I guess in the first season of anime too, she carries around a gun. I would say they're a little bit more expressionful, it looks like. At least they're changing their poses a bit more rather than just their facial expressions. But, like, I can't with those hands. Not for me. Oh, okay. Here's what their craziness looked like. Well, Mel, what the gun? Yeah. I don't know why she had a gun back then. But yeah. Oh, not that one. So that's the old art. Oh shit. Everything's red now. Oh no. Updated. Yeah. So I much prefer the updated art. New art style is definitely better, but there's still something in it. Yeah. Oh hi. What is this? We were just looking at the old and new art because they updated all the art for when they were putting these novels on Steam. But yeah. So tomorrow we'll be playing Nosferatu, I think I have it set up to be. I guess you could also appreciate the difference between overly cute art and the message of the story, right? Yeah, no. That's always fun to see the contrast and the lighthearted, everyday slice of life stuff, and then to the murders. Okay, yeah. Next week, tomorrow we're playing Nosferatu. Normal time, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be putting the schedule up here in a little bit. Now that I know we finished the book. But other than that, glad you guys enjoyed this ride with me through Hinamizawa Higurashi Onikakushi, the first arc, first book. And hope to see you next time. Bye bye. See you soon, land shops.